10 insanely rare and weirdest sleeper cars of the 80s. The 80s wasn't just about mullets, Walkmans, and shoulder pads. It was an era when automotive engineers were breaking free from the restrictions of the 70s, experimenting with turbochargers, fuel injection, and aerodynamics in ways that would forever change performance cars. But not all fast cars announced themselves with massive spoilers and ground effects. Some of the decade's most potent performers flew completely under the radar. These are the sleepers, cars that looked ordinary but packed extraordinary punch under their unassuming hoods. These aren't your typical BMW M5s or Buick Grand Nationals. Those are too well known. We're digging deeper to find the overlooked gems that could embarrass supercars while looking like something your math teacher would drive. 10. 1983 Dodge Shelby Rampage. Now, if you've never heard of the Rampage, you're not alone. It was Dodge's front-wheel drive answer to the El Camino, essentially a Dodge Omni with a pickup bed. Not exactly the foundation you'd expect for a performance vehicle, right? But when Carroll Shelby got his hands on it, something magical happened. While the standard Rampage came with a wheezing 96 horsepower engine, the Shelby version received a massaged 2.2-liter with a high compression head, aggressive camshaft, and revised intake manifold that bumped output to a much more respectable 142 horsepower. That might not sound impressive today, but in a vehicle that weighed just 2,400 pounds, about the same as a modern Miata, this little truck car could scoot from 0 to 60 in under 8 seconds. That's quicker than a lot of V8 muscle cars from the same era. What made it a true sleeper was its utterly conventional appearance. Despite the Shelby badging, most people had no idea what they were looking at. How many were made? Just 218 examples in 1983, followed by an even more microscopic 80 units in 1984. Today, finding one is virtually impossible, and when they do surface, collectors are willing to pay upwards of $30,000 for a good example. Not bad for something based on a humble Dodge economy car. 9. 1989 Saab 900 SPG. Saabs were already known for being quirky, with their ignition switches on the center console and aviation-inspired ergonomics. But the 900 SPG took this Swedish oddity and gave it serious performance credentials with a 2.0-liter turbocharged engine producing 175 horsepower. Now, that might not sound earth-shattering, but consider this. The SPG could hit 60 miles per hour in just over 7 seconds and had a top speed approaching 140 miles per hour. In a car shaped like a brick and designed primarily for safety. What made the SPG special wasn't just straight-line performance, though. These cars handled with a level of composure that shocked drivers of more expensive German machinery. With a unique suspension setup and special low-profile tires, the SPG could carve corners with surprising agility. Visually, only the subtle body cladding, 3-spoke wheels, and special paint options distinguished it from a regular 900. Your average person would have no idea this Swedish oddball could keep pace with a Porsche 944 on a twisty road. With fewer than 800 SPGs imported to the United States in 1989, and many lost to rust, accidents, or neglect, finding one today is increasingly difficult. A well-preserved example can fetch north of $25,000, an astounding figure for a car that was essentially forgotten by mainstream enthusiasts for decades. 8. 1987 to 1989 Chrysler Conquest TSI. This is actually a Mitsubishi Starion that was rebadged and sold through Chrysler dealers, but don't let that fool you. The Conquest TSI was a seriously capable machine that deserves far more recognition than it gets. Under the hood lurked a 2.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, producing 176 horsepower and 223 pound-feet of torque. Impressive figures for the time. But what made the Conquest special was its near-perfect weight distribution and rear-wheel drive platform. This was a car that could hang with the Super Turbos and 300ZX turbos of its day, yet it flew completely under the radar. Chrysler's marketing department never quite knew what to do with it, which kept sales low and awareness minimal. Inside the Conquest was peak 80s tech fantasy, with a digital dashboard and graphic equalizer stereo that would make Knight Rider jealous. The wide-body fender flares and pop-up headlights gave it some visual presence, but to the uninitiated, it was just another boxy sports car. Only about 15,000 Conquests were sold across all years in the US, and the TSI performance model was just a fraction of that number. Today, finding one that hasn't been modified beyond recognition or rusted into oblivion is a genuine challenge, with clean examples commanding upwards of $20,000. 7. 1985. Mercury Capri ASC McLaren. Most people know about the Fox body Mustang, but its Mercury cousin, the Capri, is often forgotten. And that's a shame, because the ASC McLaren version was something truly special. American Sunroof Corporation and McLaren Performance Technologies teamed up to transform the humble Capri into a serious performer. They started with the 5.0-liter Fight 8 from the Mustang GT, but added performance heads, a more aggressive camshaft, and a revised intake manifold, boosting output to 210 horsepower. The real magic was in the handling. The ASC McLaren received Coney adjustable shocks, stiffer springs, and larger sway bars that transformed the somewhat flaccid Fox platform into a genuinely capable corner carver. Inside, these cars received Recaro seats, a leather-wrapped dash, and an upgraded sound system. Outside, subtle body modifications and unique paint schemes set it apart, but not so much that you'd immediately recognize it as anything special. Only 557 of these special Capri were produced in 1985 and 1986 combined. Today, they're almost forgotten footnotes in automotive history, with values still relatively affordable at $15,000 to $25,000 for a clean example. That's a bargain for what amounts to a hand-built performance car with genuine racing pedigree. 6. 1989 Pontiac Sunbird GT Turbo. Now I know what you're thinking. A Sunbird? Really? Yes, really. While most Sunbirds were destined for rental fleets and first-time drivers, the GT Turbo was a genuine pocket rocket hiding in plain sight. Under the hood was GM's 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, producing a respectable 165 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. In a car weighing just 2,700 pounds, this was enough to propel the Sunbird to 60 miles per hour in about 7.5 seconds, faster than many V8-powered cars of the era. What made it such an effective sleeper was its utterly forgettable styling. Despite some subtle GT badging and a small rear spoiler, the Sunbird looked like countless other economy cars populating American roads. Nobody expected a turbocharged punch when the light turned green. Inside, the GT Turbo received sport bucket seats and a boost gauge, small nods to its performance potential that did little to change its economy car vibe. Production numbers are hard to come by, but experts estimate fewer than 5,000 GT Turbos were built across 1988 and 1989. Today, they're almost extinct, victims of rust, neglect, and the general disposability of economy cars. Finding one in good condition is nearly impossible, with pristine examples valued at around $15,000, if you can find one at all. Number 5. 1989 Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. While most Thunderbirds of this era were plush cruisers with V8 engines designed for straight-line comfort, the Turbo Coupe was engineered for drivers who actually enjoyed corners. Power came from a turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder that made 190 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque in its final iteration. What's remarkable is that Ford chose a high-tech four-cylinder over a V8 at a time when that was almost heretical in American performance cars. Even more impressive was the chassis. The Turbo Coupe featured four-wheel disc brakes, a limited slip differential, and a sophisticated adjustable suspension system that could firm up at the touch of a button. In 1988, it even gained anti-lock brakes, a rarity at the time. Inside, supportive sport seats and a full complement of gauges reminded you this wasn't your grandfather's Thunderbird, but from the outside, only subtle badging and unique wheels gave away its sporting intentions. The automotive press was impressed enough to name it Motor Trend's Car of the Year for 1987, yet today it remains largely forgotten. overshadowed by the Mustang GT of the same era. About 15,000 turbo coupes were built during its 1987 to 1989 run, but finding a clean, unmodified example today is increasingly difficult. Prices are still reasonable, with excellent examples selling for $12,000 to $18,000, making them one of the better performance bargains on our list. Dirt, Bindokus U6N, Yede Dodge, Omni GLHS. Once again, Carroll Shelby worked his magic on an unlikely Dodge platform. The name GLHS literally stood for Goes Like Hellsmore, a follow-up to the already hot GLH model, proving that even the marketing department had a sense of humor about this unlikely performance car. Under the hood was a 2.2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, producing 175 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. In a car weighing just 2,500 pounds, this was enough for 0 to 60 times of around 6.5 seconds, quicker than a contemporary Ferrari 328. Let that sink in. This humble economy hatchback could outrun Italian exotics costing 10 times as much. And from the outside, it looked like something your high school math teacher would drive. Shelby didn't just focus on straight-line speed. The GLHS received Coney adjustable struts and shocks, performance springs, and larger front and rear sway bars. The result was a car that could hang with GTIs and 944s on twisty roads. How rare are they? Just 500 were built in 1986, followed by 1,000 for the 1987 model year. Each car came with a numbered dash plaque, signed by Carroll Shelby himself. Today, finding one is a challenge, and when they do appear at auction, they can fetch upwards of $30,000. Not bad for a car based on the humble Omni economy car that most people have completely forgotten. 3. Volvo 740 Turbo Wagon. Nothing says responsible adult quite like a Volvo station wagon. These were the vehicles of choice for college professors, architects, and safety-conscious parents long before SUVs took over that role. They were the automotive equivalent of sensible shoes, but hiding under that conservative exterior was a turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder producing 162 horsepower and a stump-pulling 195 pound-feet of torque. In the lightweight 740 chassis, this was enough for 0 to 60 times in the low 7-second range, quicker than many dedicated sports cars of the era. Where the turbo wagon really shined was in real-world driving scenarios. Its massive torque made highway passing effortless, often catching drivers of more prestigious vehicles completely off guard. Nothing was quite as satisfying as embarrassing a BMW with what looked like a rolling file cabinet. What made it the ultimate sleeper was its complete lack of sporting pretension. It still had all the practicality of a standard Volvo wagon, with room for 5 passengers and enough cargo space for a month-long family vacation. The only visual cues were subtle turbo badges and slightly different wheels. To 99% of the population, it was just another boxy Volvo. While Volvo made plenty of 740S, the turbo wagon variant was relatively uncommon, particularly with the desirable manual transmission. Finding one today that hasn't been modified or neglected is increasingly difficult, with clean examples selling for $15,000 to $25,000. Yucker 2. 1989 Taurus SHO. The standard Taurus was already revolutionary, with its aerodynamic design transforming the American family sedan. But the SHO, super high output version, took this family-friendly package and injected it with serious performance credentials. The heart of the SHO was its engine, a Yamaha-designed 3.0-liter V6, producing 220 horsepower and revving to 7,000 RPM. This wasn't just impressive for a family sedan. It was impressive for any car of the era. The manual-only transmission featured a heavy-duty clutch and revised gear ratios to handle the power. The results were stunning. 0 to 60 miles per hour came in just 6.6 seconds, and the quarter mile flashed by in 15 seconds flat, numbers that would embarrass many dedicated sports cars of the time. Car and driver famously compared it favorably to the BMW M5, at less than half the price. What made it a true sleeper was how little Ford did to distinguish it visually from a regular Taurus. Slightly different bodywork, unique wheels, and SHO badging were the only clues. And to the uninitiated, it looked like any other family sedan. While Ford built about 15,000 first-generation SHOs between 1989 and 1991, finding a clean, unmodified example today is increasingly difficult. Values for pristine first-year models have been climbing steadily, with the best examples now fetching over $20,000. Number 1, 989 Merkur XR4 Ti. If you're wondering what a Merkur is, you're not alone. This was Ford's ill-fated attempt to create a European luxury performance brand for the American market. The XR4 Ti was essentially a Ford Sierra XR4i from Europe, rebadged and slightly modified for US regulations. Under the hood was a turbocharged 2.3-liter four-cylinder, the same basic engine used in the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, producing 175 horsepower when paired with the manual transmission. The rear-wheel drive chassis featured independent suspension all around and excellent weight distribution. The result was a car that could hang with BMWs and Audis on twisty roads while looking like nothing else on American highways. Car and Driver called it a world-class road car with handling and road manners equal or superior to anything in its price class. But the XR4 Ti faced numerous challenges. It was sold through Lincoln Mercury dealers who had no idea how to market a European sports sedan. The name was virtually unpronounceable to Americans, and the unusual bi-wing rear spoiler polarized opinions. That spoiler, though. Nothing else on the road had anything like it, making the XR4 Ti instantly recognizable to those in the know, yet completely mysterious to everyone else. Ford imported just over 42,000 XR4 Ti's between 1985 and 1989, but the vast majority have disappeared from American roads. Mechanical complexity, rust issues, and general neglect have claimed most examples. Today, finding a clean XR4 Ti is a genuine challenge, with well-preserved examples commanding $15,000 to $25,000. For a car that was largely dismissed during its production run, that's quite a turnaround, and a fitting recognition for what might be the ultimate 80s sleeper. The tradition of the sleeper car continues today with vehicles like the Chevy SS, Kia Stinger GT, and various anonymous-looking German wagons packing 500-plus horsepower. But there was something special about those 80s sleepers. A certain charming quirkiness combined with innovative engineering that made them truly special. How many of these rare machines have you seen in the wild? Do you own one? Or is there another 80s sleeper that deserves to be on this list? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more automotive content, and click that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming video on the craziest concept cars of the 1990s that never made it to production.